Okay, so here we are. We are going to now create a new project. And I already had one crack at this, and I discovered something that I did not know about .NET MVC. So we're going to create a new project. And the kind of project we're going to create, we have to be careful here because there are many choices that sound very similar to each other. What we want is an ASP.NET Web Application .NET Framework, as opposed to ASP.NET Core Web App or .NET Standard or something else. So let's scroll down through here and you'll see, here's what we don't want, right? There's also this in many different languages. You can do it in C#, you can do it in Visual Basic, you can do it, you know. I usually filter this on C# because that's what I like to work in. So here's a bunch of core stuff. .NET Web Application .NET Framework in C#. This is what we want to create, right? So we're going to say next. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it, so recall we're going to be creating a phone book application. So we're going to call this the Green Book. Kind of like the, I'm going to call it Green Book MVC. Kind of like the, sorry, let's green pages, sorry. Kind of like the white pages. Except they're the green pages. So we're going to say create. We're creating this as an MVC site as opposed to web forms or an API, and we'll explain all of these soon. I'm not going to configure for HTTPS. We're going to click create. And this is going to scaffold out a working website for us. And I'll explain a little bit about this website. So I'm going to hit play, and we're going to see what the website looks like. Press play, it kicks off a IIS instance for you at a certain port for just this project, and it goes to the home page. So as you see here, there's home, about, contact. This goes to the same location you'll see down here in the corner. Application goes to where it is now. Same thing with home. About goes here. If I click about, you can see there's an about page. Click contact, there's a contact page. So this is the basic site that's created for you. And the design is fine for what we're doing. You can get really crazy with designs, but we're just going to use this default design for all of the stuff that we're doing for this Green Book. Okay, so I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to go and look at this. So how did it render that? Remember, in MVC, when you go in the browser to /home or /nothing, you're going to home. Why are you going to home? First question, right? Well, the reason is because there's a route that's configured that says by default, please go to home index. Remember when I said controllers, you're calling the home controller the index method on the home controller. So by default, the route is controller name, action name, and then an ID, right? And the ID is an optional parameter. So you could send other parameters in, but ID, you don't even have to say ID equals. You just put an ID after a slash and you're saying ID equals. We'll get to that in a few minutes here, but let's say home controller. So there is an index. It doesn't have any kind of logic associated with it. It just returns the view, right? So there's no model going into this. Remember when we were saying model is the object you're passing into the view to be rendered. Where are the views? Right here. And there's the home folder. And there's the index view. And as you see, it's got a bunch of stuff on here, right? So we want to do the standard programming thing and say, hello world. And get rid of everything else on the page. And as you can see here, if I click play, that's going to be on the home page, right? So there's not a whole lot of other stuff here though, right? Where's that header come from? Well, the header comes from a layout page, but this page doesn't say, hey, use a layout. That's because the view start says all pages should use layout, right? Where's the layout? It's in the shared folder, shared layout. So let's go there, shared layout. And as you see here, say green pages. And remember at the top where it said application name, I'm going to say green pages. Right? So now I've changed a few things around. This, where I said green pages, should change on all pages. And I changed on the index page to just say hello world. How did I do? There you go. So that is the hello world page, right? And you see I changed this to green pages. If I go to the about page, that's still there because that's on the layout page. That applies to all of the pages. So pretty simple so far. So what do we want to do? We want to see how to add more pages, more content, more things like that, right? We know that the home controller is here. We want to add, let's say, a public action result, a privacy page, right? And we want to just return view. What does that mean, just return view? That means return the privacy view, right? In the index, it returns the index view. About, it turns the about view. Contact returns contact view. What if I want to return the contact view? Well, I can type in contact. Now it's going to return the contact view when I click privacy, because I don't have a privacy view yet, right? So, oh, I didn't even add the link yet. So let me add the link. Some of this stuff you can do while it's running and some of it you can't. So here I'm going to say on the home controller, go to privacy. And the link I wanted to say privacy. So let's see if I have to rebuild or anything with this. I don't. Okay, so now there's a privacy link, right? Go to contact, go to about, go to privacy. It shows me the contact view, even though I went to privacy. And sure enough, I'm calling the privacy method on the home controller, just like I thought I would be, right? So instead, I just want to show a privacy page, right? So first I have to create it. So I'll say new, add a view, MVC 5, called privacy. Now recall there's a layout page. I don't have to put the layout page in here because the view start says every page will use this layout page. Now you can override it here and say, well, this page needs a different layout page. Let's say it's deep in the site and it's an admin area and you want a different header, for example. You could do that. So now there's a privacy page. So we're going to put privacy is an illusion. Right? And we're going to go to the home controller, and instead of sending to the contact view, we're going to send to the default view, which is the privacy one. Okay, so now I go to contact, go to privacy, and privacy is an illusion. Okay. So that's the basic idea. So that's models, which we don't have any models yet. Well, what if we want a model? Well, what kind of models would we want to pass here? Maybe we want to pass a message to show on the page, right? In addition to privacy is an illusion. Let's do that. So we'll say string message, right? And we're going to make it optional, right? Now we want to send it to this view. And this is where I messed up when I told you this is my second iteration of this. If I just pass in, as you see, when I put in contact, right, it went to the contact view. I was trying to pass in just message. Well, it's going to be trying to go to a view named message, named whatever the message content is. So in this case, you have to force it and say, no, not that. I want to say the model that I'm sending in is message, right? So normally, if it's a model that's not a string, the problem is view already has a string input, right? I could say object model, but string is already the view name. So it's kind of complicated, but just suffice it to know, you don't always have to do this. I'm just doing this because I'm only sending in a string. Normally you're sending in an object, like for example, person that has a first name, last name, phone numbers, addresses, email addresses, right? That's not going to be confused with model name. I'm sorry, with view name, right? So anyway, I'm passing message to the page. Well, how do I consume that? Well, on the page, I say the model is a string. That's all I have to say. Now I can use that model somewhere, right? So here I'm going to say, I'm just going to say paragraph, and I'm going to do the message. So the message is the model. Now when I click run, again, this is an optional parameter, right? So if I just go to this page, you should notice the difference, right? Privacy, right? But if I want to send in a message, I say message equals hello. And then it does that. Right? So that's how I passed in a parameter to the controller, took that parameter, made it into a model, passed it to the view, and the view rendered the model. Okay. Let me click my notes here, see if there's anything I'm missing. Yeah. So that's basically it for creating a website. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work around the objects that we're going to send in here. Now, with another tutorial that I did, I started out with classes and made the database from the classes. In this one, I'm going to go the opposite direction just to show a different way of doing it. I'm going to create the database first and then use the entity framework to create the classes from the database. And you'll see all of how this works. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks.